Welcome to BeInCrypto. Today we're speaking to William Quigley, co-founder of Tether and the worldwide asset exchange blockchain for NFTs. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So starting off, I wanted to speak about your history with blockchain and crypto, and specifically about how you've seen the space change over these years.
Sure. Well, I started a long time ago, 10 years ago, in blockchain. I was skeptical, like a lot of people still are. My skepticism came from the fact that I had been involved in things similar to crypto, what I used to call magic internet money back in the 90s. I had started with two partners, the first consumer internet venture capital fund called Idea Lab Capital Partners. And we had looked at what we called micropayments back then, and micropayment companies that created little tokens that you could use instead of going through the traditional credit card networks. And if you know anything about these traditional payment networks, it's that there's a pretty high fixed cost. So you couldn't do, let's say you're a blogger and you want to charge 10 cents per read. You couldn't do that because you could only bill like $5. Anything below that, the fees would be as much as the bill. And so, but these early attempts at internet money didn't work. I wasn't really sure why they didn't work. Once I understood blockchain, I was sure, but it was because no one ever knew how much money was outstanding and you could debase the currency. So it probably helped and hurt me to have that experience because I was a little skeptical, but I also knew the value of being able to replace the payment systems with a token that could be just bypassing all the old structures that make them expensive and slow. I also, and this helped me for sure, I had been for many years trading video game virtual items. So anyone who's played a video game, you know, for the last 20 years, you've been able to buy virtual items that allow you to do something in a video game. Those are called virtual items. An item that has in-game utility, you buy it to do something with it. And then another branch of video game virtual items called skins. So I had been involved with a marketplace that traded video game virtual items. And that was about a 10 billion USD annual market in the secondary market trading of video game virtual items. And then another company called Opskins that was involved in the secondary market of skins. A skin is a video game virtual item that has no in-game utility. It's strictly cosmetic, just a cosmetic feature and in the game. And those are really popular. And people love to get them and then trade them. But a lot of people would trade them with people who wouldn't pay them. And so my partners and I figured out, well, what if we created a marketplace where they would pay us, the buyer, and then we'd make sure we got that item before we paid the seller. And so for about now 20 years, I've been running video game virtual item marketplaces, which was a really good start for crypto. Probably not well known, but many of the early crypto people were video game virtual item traders because we had these digital items that some were unique. If they weren't unique, they were easy to discern as being genuine, and you could trade them back and forth for money. The only difference between crypto, or the main difference, was these games that had these items could shut you down, or the games could die, and then you would lose all your virtual items that you paid for. So the blockchain, being distributed and decentralized, carried the promise that the virtual items would last forever. And that appealed to me a lot. So once I got into crypto, I then helped start a dedicated venture capital fund and invested many early crypto companies: Kraken, Coinbase, Bitfury, Ledger, a whole bunch of of early internet companies. And then, of course, I started to create blockchains and then payment processors for crypto, and probably 30 plus deals in total in the blockchain space before my partner and I decided to attempt to create these video game virtual marketplaces on a blockchain. And we did that in 2017, where we did an ICO for WAX, the Worldwide Asset Exchange, where our idea was, what if we could take these media files, art files, content, and wrap it in a token, which eventually got named an NFT. I never thought that name would work, by the way. I thought people would never want to keep saying NFT, but it stuck. And so in London in 2017, I pitched people on an idea of a blockchain whose sole purpose was the creation of and trading of NFTs. And people were interested, but I will tell you, I think it's on YouTube, you can watch it. They were perplexed, and I was perplexed why they were perplexed. And then, all these people looked like video game players in the blockchain space, kind of geeky, mostly young male, but they're not. Many of them were not video gamers. Many of them didn't really understand virtual items. So it took a few years for people to get it. And now, of course, crypto has exploded. WAX, last time I checked, a few weeks ago, was the highest transaction count blockchain in the world. Binance chain sometimes is above, sometimes it's below. It's dynamic, but clearly a lot of people like trading NFTs.
That's so interesting. It's fascinating to hear about your illustrious history in this space. I was wondering, you mentioned it there that you didn't think the name NFTs would stick. Were you surprised by the 2020-2021 boom in NFTs?
That's an understatement. Yes. Well, for 4 years, we were trying to create the blockchains for them and then building things, and we were launching NFTs. No one really seemed to care. And then sometime in 2021, early January, early February, they exploded for reasons that aren't entirely clear. And suddenly everyone wanted to get involved in NFTs. And it was amusing because I had been talking to some companies for years about licensing their intellectual property to me, and then I would make NFTs out of them. And some of them did it. Some of them were like, whoa, do we really care about this? But most of them took 6 months to a year to make a decision. And then the NFT boom hit, and suddenly they were calling me saying, we need to make a deal now. And suddenly it was a rush for everybody. And that continues. Though even in the 9 months, it's September 2021 now, in the 9 months through this year, the NFT market is significantly changed. We're just seeing it go from very simple pieces of artwork that have been tokenized and traded to legitimate games that use them, to now people embedding video and other forms of multimedia into the NFTs, allowing NFTs to become smart NFTs that combine and create a third NFT. So we are moving very fast. In 2021, the pace of innovation in NFTs and in DeFi is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my, long career in technology. What I thought was going to happen, by the way, I thought that the dawn of NFTs, like hitting the mass market and getting mass market adoption, was going to be when augmented reality consumer devices became affordable and commonplace. And that is probably the first vendor to be able to do that is probably going to be Apple. And I think the latest estimates are 2025, maybe mid 2024 is when those will come out. So that's when I thought we would really see a jump in NFTs, because the principal business model and revenue model of the metaverse, which augmented reality is going to power, is going to be NFTs. So I figured that's where we're really going to see mass market adoption. But it just happened for one reason or another. It happened this year. And by the time we have these augmented reality devices broadly distributed among consumers, I suspect there'll be another giant step up in the popularity and the growth in the NFT sector.
That's a really interesting outlook. I was wondering if we could go back specifically to Wax, and I wanted to know if you could tell us a bit more about it, and specifically about its delegated proof of stake algorithm and how that
Sure.
works.
Sure. So as I mentioned, the origins of Wax were my partner and me having spent many years in the trading of video game virtual items, and are thinking that to put those items on a blockchain, a decentralized distributed blockchain, that would add a lot of value to consumers. They'd never have to worry again about whether or not the game is shutting down. They also wouldn't have to worry about the game saying, we don't want you to trade them. Your visitors or users who are watching this program may know, if you're video gamers, that very, very few companies, video game companies, allow you to trade the virtual items that you paid good money for. It's always bugged me that they don't allow you to trade them. So we figured, well, we'll allow people to trade them. And by the way, we'll allow them to trade them, and people will know instantly with no effort that they're genuine because they're on a blockchain. So it made sense to put these on a blockchain. The challenge we had was blockchains in 2016, when we started thinking about this, were not capable of operating at consumer mass market transaction speed. They were also very expensive, as people have found with Ethereum's proof of work based blockchain. So we were waiting for a consensus mechanism that we thought could take us to mass market. And Dan Larimer, who's the creator of a variant of proof of stake called delegated proof of stake, we know him, we like him. He came up with this idea, and we said, okay, he's going to be ready kind of sometime in 2018. So this was now 2017, and we said, we got to go now to build the chain in preparation for the delegated proof of stake mechanism to be, worked through the kinks and usable. And we were building on Ethereum prior to that. My partners and I were the second largest buyers in the Ethereum crowd sale. We had also been significantly involved in the predecessor to Ethereum called Mastercoin. Mastercoin was the first blockchain that was built with an intelligent layer, what's called a smart contract. So we really understood Ethereum and liked Ethereum, but not for consumer mass market. And we were struggling with trying to grow with that. And then when we launched Wax in June 2018, we instantly got very attractive transactions, probably 100 times the scale of what we could do on Ethereum. So we knew this was a winner. But I would say to think about Wax this way, because it can get confusing. People look at like OpenSea, let's say, which is a marketplace, and they think, well, you're like OpenSea, but no. OpenSea is like an app, and we're like the Apple App Store. So there's many, many, many OpenSeas on Wax, because Wax is a blockchain, but it's a special blockchain. It's special because it was built for one thing, which is NFTs. Making them cheaply, trading them cheaply. So that takes more than just a blockchain, though, because people need to interact with the blockchain. So you need a wallet. So we also created the Wax Cloud Wallet, which is now the number one cloud wallet, the number one wallet for NFT collectors. I think we're close to 7 million NFT collectors using the Wax Cloud Wallet. So we had a blockchain that could run at scale and easily mint NFTs. Then we created a wallet, which is quite challenging because with crypto, as you know, it's not the most easy to use technology. So we took a lot of our video gaming experience, and from that tried to develop an intuitive wallet that allowed people to very easily inspect what they have, trade what they have. And I think we've accomplished that. I mean, it's the #1 NFT wallet, so we must have done something right. And then, of course, you have to have something that gets neglected, which is a standard. So all technology abides by some form of standard. It might be USB. You're all familiar with USB standard, or the Wi-Fi standard, 802.11- whatever, GN, wherever we are now. So NFTs have a standard, and every blockchain develops a standard. The standard is the thing that tells you what you can do with it. How many distinct characteristics can I have? 18, 25, 30. Can the NFT be broken into separate pieces? All those things you might want to do with an NFT. Well, we had been working with virtual items for 20 years, so we knew a lot of what people wanted to do. So I believe the Wax Atomic NFT standard, I think it's the best NFT standard there is. So you got a blockchain, you got a wallet, you got an NFT standard, and then of course we have a lot of tools that are available for developers who want to develop on Wax, to good documentation so that they figure it out pretty simple. We also have a fiat integration, so that a lot of people would like to buy an NFT, but the first one, they don't have crypto, so they need to use a credit card. Those are some of the things. We built an ecosystem so that very integrated, so very easy to use. And that's the reason why, at least last time I looked, Wax had more transactions than any other blockchain, because blockchains are notoriously difficult to use, and ours was built to be used, and to be used for something that a lot of consumers like. That's NFTs. That's sort of Wax in like a few minutes.
That's such a great overview. And I was wondering, there's an aspect that you didn't touch on that I was curious about, and that's the carbon neutral element of Wax. And I was wondering if you could talk about that and your decision to go down that path, and also why people using blockchains should care about carbon neutrality.
Right. So, by the way, they didn't initially, but when we launched Wax at the beginning of 2018, it was carbon neutral. It was carbon neutral from the beginning. And we told people it was carbon neutral, but no one cared. It's only like in 2021 that they seem to care. I think that's because people started to look at how much energy was being used to mine Bitcoin, and then they kind of cast all of us as polluters, even though, of course, as you know, the amount of energy required is really dependent on the consensus mechanism of the blockchain. So, I tell people there is no NFTs don't use any energy, or it's negligible. What uses energy is the blockchain the NFT is built on. Well, our NFTs are built on Wax, which is carbon neutral. We started off being carbon neutral first because we were miners. We knew we had to be proof of stake, which is very energy efficient, very close to being as energy efficient as, let's say, a traditional online e-commerce company. And very few people say, oh, e-commerce is terrible for the environment. But then we had we bought a lot of acres of land in Oregon, which we kept undeveloped with a lot of trees and a healthy ecosystem as part of launching the blockchain, so that we felt like, okay, we've preserved this cluster of carbon absorbing plants to help offset whatever footprint we're adding. And the way the carbon offset NFT came about was, my partner was taking a plane, and he said that his daughter was asking him, was he going to buy carbon offsets? And so he called me and said, hey, William, how do I get carbon offsets? And I said, no, they're not like that. Carbon offsets are generally something managed by corporations, and they're big industrial corporations, and they're regulated by governments, and they create these markets. And there's no way a consumer can go in there and buy something to offset their their long ride in an SUV or something, and certainly not a plane ride. So I said to him, well, why don't I look into what we could do? And it occurred to me that we could actually create an NFT that could be used or redeemed for a carbon offset credit. And the way we did that was we partnered with the National Forest Foundation, and we said, for every $1 NFT, we would like to be able to redeem it for the planting of a tree. Can you do that? And they said, yeah. And so we launched carbon offset NFTs, which cost $1, though you can buy like a $5 pack or $20 pack. And these can be traded. And of course, if they were on Ethereum, every time they traded, you'd be creating a lot more carbon because it's an inefficient blockchain. But because it's a delegated proof of stake chain, it's virtually no energy is being used. And so you can get it, you can gift it to somebody. If they feel like, who knows, they bought a bunch of merchandise on Amazon and they want to return it. Returns are very polluting on various levels. So we thought, wouldn't it be cool if they could get this carbon offset NFT, redeem it, and have a tree planted? So the reason I like the idea as well is because it puts blockchain in a more positive light. It shows the value to people of, oh yeah, see, you couldn't do this if we just created an emoji that was a carbon offset emoji, because I'd send it to you, but you wouldn't know if it's the real thing because it's digital. We would just copy it, right? But we know with blockchain, you can't copy it. And so that NFT is easily to ascertain as genuine, and therefore it's easy to trade it with people because they know that what they're getting is the real thing. That's what makes these, I think, really cool. What I'd like to happen is I would like e-commerce companies to start offering carbon offset NFTs and saying, hey, if you want to do a return and you feel like, well, it's going to take a truck to come out, this box is going to have to be used to ship it. They're going to take that box, put it in the landfill. A lot of people don't realize that Amazon takes a lot of the merchandise that gets shipped back to it. The reason they don't care how you package it back up is because they just put it in a landfill. So, you know, returns look free because you don't see them on your credit card, but they're not free to Mother Nature. And so having offsets, carbon offsets for returns would be I think, an attractive option for a lot of kind of conscientious consumers who want to be able to return stuff, but also would like there to not be such a cost to the environment when they do so.
That's so fascinating, especially how you see this expanding beyond the crypto or blockchain community. I wanted to say thank you for being with us today, and I really enjoyed our discussion. You gave such incredible insight.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
That was great. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.